Well, hey,
Well,
Quentin. Welcome.
hey Joe, thank you, thank you. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Yay. It's great to be back. Welcome to the Connectors. So, we are starting a new season. Quentin and I have taken a break from the show just for a period of time to work on some of our own stuff, our own businesses, to reflect, to regroup on a new intention for the show and how we want to move forward. And I think we both realized that we really enjoyed doing the show. We find that it's created a lot of value for both of us, for our guests, for our community, for the people that we've brought in, and the stories that we've shared. And it's really hard to let go of that, I think, once you started to create something that has this ripple effect. And it definitely just took that, I think, that space for me to see that and be like, no, I really want to keep doing this. Even if no one's listening, I just feel like doing a body of work that you're passionate about, and that feels really good, and that other people enjoy being part of is part of how we get to express ourselves, part of how we get to create, part of a fun experience of life. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, Quentin?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I mean, there are people listening, which is pretty exciting. We've had about a dozen people reach out to us on our little hiatus and our little summer break, and they were all interested in becoming guests. So I think that's amazing. And I think it sort of like builds into how we are framing ourselves and how we're framing this new season. So like we've brainstormed it and we've come up with this phrase, and let us know if it resonates with you, dear listener. The Connectors explores the people, the patterns, and the perspectives that shape how we lead, live, connect, and reinvent ourselves, which I think
Yeah.
is a beautiful summary.
Yeah, because it's, when Quentin and I started the show, if you've been along for the journey, you know sort of how we started. But we met each other through a reinvention program. And so reinvention became something that was ingrained in us, became part of our ethos, which really is a more, I may guess, glorified way to say change. It's about creating change and shifts and identifying our patterns and seeing what's coming up around that and how we can move towards a change that we actually want that's more intentional. And through that process, we learned that having guests on the show and talking about the stories and the challenges, the triumphs, the things that have brought us to where we are now really are things that people love to talk about. People want to know how people got to where they are. People want to know the struggles that they're going through as they're going through them. People want to know how you can build something new, and it's important work. It's important conversations to have, and we're just glad to have a platform to be able to do that. So
Yeah, so this season we're sort of like guiding ourselves with these different pillars, and we'll get into the pillars in a minute. But our big central question that we're looking at for this season is what happens when people stop performing and they start getting real? Yes, what a question. Are you getting real or are you performing? And what's the difference between the two? And where are you performing and where are you being real?
yeah. Yeah, and I can even look back to the beginning of when we first started recording these shows. It's awful to go back and look at yourself that time and see how green we were. And not that we're these massive polished professionals at this stage, but we definitely have this more relaxed, comfortable feel being in, behind the camera, behind the mic. And I could see in myself where I was being performative. I could see the places, even within my past in corporate, my roles in life as a sister, as a mom, as a wife, as all the things that I've been, where I've been performative, and performance gets exhausting, and you start to recognize the areas of your life that are not in alignment to you anymore because you've been performing. And that's been an undertone of things that I think we've really noticed within our own journeys is, where have we taken space to get really real, and how do we want to zone in on that and talk about it, and how has it helped ourselves, how has it led to insights with others. And so we want to bring you through these sort of 5 pillars, and we're doing a 10 guest series which we're going to start launching the end of the summer. We're working within a container right now to do our recordings and get all our post production done, and then we're going to kind of bucket people into these pillars, but they all have the same undertone. So I'll let you start, Quentin, if you want to share what they are.
Join us at the Connectors to build meaningful connections in your personal and professional life. You can find the Connectors on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, and everywhere that you listen to your podcast. Join and follow us on our social media. You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube.
Yeah, amazing. So our first pillar that we're going to be looking at.
Sign up for our newsletter on our website at theconnectorpodcast.com. If you know someone who would be a great guest on our podcast, please go up to our website at theconnectorpodcast.com and fill in the details of the form below. We would love to have them as a guest on the show.
Tried various different ways of being a team member, being an entrepreneur, being a working artist, and it's about how we can lead ourselves and how we can gather community around us at the same time. We'll also touch on identity after losses or a major transition, or maybe viewing it as a second act or a second chapter. And it's all going to be around personal transformation.
I love that. Into human patterns and connection, which I feel this has been on my scale of my neurodivergence. My superpower is identifying connections and patterns. So I always see these things in out in the world, and I'm sure people do to a variety of different extents, but I notice where people aren't showing up for themselves, and I started to really observe myself where my own patterns were working against me or my own habits, and I can quickly identify that in other people as well. And it begs the question, like, why do we repeat the patterns we do if they're not serving us? Why do we keep going back to relationships that we do if they're not, serving us? Why do we repeat patterns from the places of, trauma or loneliness or belonging or non-belonging? And how does that inform how we self-lead? So we did talk about self-leadership and then reinvention and identity. But I think they're all intertwined. And to get to a new identity really is about understanding who you are underneath and those patterns that come up.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? Like, especially if you're trying to work on your own, you've got to figure out your own patterns and other people's patterns, and you've got to find ways of connecting and
Yeah.
not working in your own little silo. And then our third pillar we're looking at is leadership, impact, and technology. So thinking about human-centered leadership and what it means to be a leader nowadays, and like this hybrid remote work environments and with multi-generational teams, or like the other entrepreneurs and freelancers around you. We're looking at purpose-driven work, so talking to people who are working and contributing to non-profits and charities and working as entrepreneurs in their own purpose-driven projects. We'll look at some community building and some youth leadership, and then we'll be touching on artificial intelligence and how to stay human in a tech-forward world.
Ooh, that's a big one right now. It's funny because, as I said to you, I've been writing on Substack, and someone had posted something the other day about there's a lot of people call out if you're using AI, like in your writing. People love to call it out and say, "Oh, this looks like it's AI written." And this one person had said something about using AI or ways of constantly using self-reflection and that self-growth to actually stop yourself from living. Like if you hyper focus on the constant need to fix yourself and you're this constant, which I've been that person, you're not actually like living. And I did a reply to that saying, you know what? I've actually noticed where I've used personally ChatGPT as like my personal therapist, as my way of trying to reflect in a moment before I make an action or a reaction. And I actually had to stop myself and notice, actually, I need to take a break from this. This is something that is taking over a part of me that I inherently know. And, if I tap into my inner self, I inherently know. So I don't know how. I talked to a lot of other people that are using AI this way as well. So it'll just be really interesting to find out once we have some guests on the show, like how are people using AI and what is it taking over and how can we use it effectively to actually, but still have our human connection to ourselves and others within that. So, and that brings me is that? Sorry.
No, it's such an interesting topic, isn't it? Because I've got
Yeah.
some friends who are also using AI as like their psychologist or as their
Yeah.
business coach. And
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It's been
Yeah,
fun. Like, I have to say, it's really, really fun to dive into. But then it's like, to what point? To what extent? How do we put some boundaries around it for ourselves and for others? Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
And then
exactly.
that leads to like voice and creativity and expression. So how do we express ourselves? Is it through through our own purpose? Is it through storytelling, music? As we know, Quentin is an artist and a musician and very expressive that way. I'd say for me, my expression is through writing and through creating this content and having these conversations. I also love to DJ through music. That's part of my creative outlet. And how do we do that? What about it fuels us? What about it creates this like connection, a healing for ourselves, and using it as a way to, yeah, connect with others, connect with the world. So I think that's a fun one. And
Yeah,
then I'll let you share our last one there, Quentin, on.
absolutely, absolutely. God, like all of these, I know that you and I could talk for a couple of hours on each of them. So yeah, let's finish off with the last pillar, and then I'll list and dive into all of our great guest interviews. So our last pillar is super important. It's wellness and human performance. So thinking about our wellness and our health and our well-being, and we'll touch on things like nervous system regulation, on breath work and alternative healing practices. We'll talk about mental resilience, about energy for ourselves, energy for others, energy for our projects. Joe and I are very into the neuroscience of our behavior and our learning, and how we can use these impacts that science gives us to help upskill ourselves or make our own work more efficient in some ways, and
Mhm.
how you can be mindful under pressure, because the mindfulness is going to help you get some distance and not take things on board so emotionally. So yeah, five really interesting pillars: reinvention and identity, human patterns and connection, leadership, impact and technology, voice, creativity and expression, and wellness and our human performance. So, all of these cool conversations coming up.
Mhm. And I know it seems like a lot, there's a lot of podcasts that are very niche. And people have always said this to me when I've been like working on a business, when we start the podcast, like anything you're starting that's new, that's yours. It's people want you to niche down and get really like specific on what you're speaking to. And sometimes when I've shared what our podcast is about, I think either people get it or they don't get it. And that's okay. It's not going to be for everyone. I don't expect that our platform and what we speak to is going to resonate with everyone. But the undertone in all of these pillars really is that question of like, who are we? Like, who are we underneath all of these things that we notice? And how do we show up the best for ourselves and our own self leadership and our own authorship and for the work that we're doing, and for others in the world? And what does that impact have in how we live, lead, connect, and reinvent ourselves? So it's going to be really fun. We're going to have lots of different guests that probably will talk about all five of them, some of the guests that came on and filled out our intake forms have already said that they want to cover all of them, which is great because I do think they're all intertwined to an extent, depending on, what you're working on and who you are. So I think it'll bring up some really amazing conversations for sure. Mhm.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is the introductory little snippet that's going through our focus for this upcoming season. And we really look forward to you joining us on this journey with our wonderful guests and our amazing interviews. And yeah, we're going to explore the people, patterns, and perspectives that shape how we lead, live, connect, and reinvent ourselves.
Mhm. And something fun that Quentin and I are going to shift as well is after so many episodes, it might be 3 to 5 episodes, we'll do a bit of a debrief to see what the common threads were within those two. And I think this also gives us the chance to really highlight how, with the work that we're both doing in our businesses and practices, and how we can share those insights, and hopefully that's something that supports the guests, supports the show, supports what we're trying to do, and bring it all together in a way that's a little more succinct and hopefully, is of value to you. So as we're going through this change, we would love to hear from you. We would love if you gave us feedback. We're always looking for feedback on the show and how we can do better. If you want to be a guest, you can reach out to us. Our email is theconnectorspodcast@gmail.com. We're also over on Instagram at the Connectors Podcast. We are going to be sharing now on Substack and beefing up our YouTube at this stage as well. And just trying to find the communities and really tap into those communities that are going to resonate with this work. I think the social media aspect for us has felt maybe a little daunting at times, and it's not a space that we want to spend a lot of time in, but I also get that also, creates some outreach and interest to be in those realms too. So yeah, we want to hear from you. We want to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are. We want to know. And if you want to be a guest, somebody who wants to be a guest, please let us know for sure.
Awesome. Well, join us for the journey and stay connected.
Thanks. We'll talk soon. Bye.